The moment she entered the boardroom, she drew mocking looks. Her appearance, a crisp white shirt, beige wide-leg trousers, an old laptop, and a neat, half-up hairstyle, seemed to invite derision in a room dominated by Armani suits and Swiss watches, the occupants' gazes sharp and critical. Whispers arose, "Look at that outfit." Some even joked, someone must have sent the intern from the events team by mistake. They were mistaken, as the woman they had just humiliated was the spouse of the man overseeing a $100 million investment fund, and he had resolved that no money would be allocated to anyone who showed her disrespect. The boardroom at the top of the Sterling Tower shone with authority, with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Manhattan's skyline, a polished mahogany table reflecting the morning sun, and air that smelled faintly of leather and ambition. Crystalis Group, a leading force in luxury real estate, had requested architects from across the world to present proposals for their flagship project, a $2 billion eco-resort in the Maldives designed to reimagine sustainable luxury. Executives in tailored suits observed as evaluators, their cufflinks gleaming, their expressions conveying practiced indifference. Tablets displayed spreadsheets, and a large screen stood behind them, ready to showcase presentations that held the potential to significantly impact professional trajectories. Alina Moore entered through the double doors, her beige trousers swaying gently, her white shirt crisp and unadorned. Her dark hair was styled in a neat half-updo, with a few strands framing her face, and her hazel eyes held a quiet intensity. She carried a worn leather portfolio of hand-drawn sketches, an old laptop tucked under her arm, and she was unaccompanied. At 34, she appeared striking, elegant in her simplicity, her beauty like a clear stream cutting through stone. Years ago, her eco-resort concept, a small project in Costa Rica, had attracted attention within the industry, its quiet excellence discussed in design circles. That's why Crystalis had invited her, or so she believed. She placed her portfolio on the table, her actions measured, and offered a composed smile. "Good morning," she stated, her voice clear and even. "I'm Alina Moore, here to present my vision for your resort." The room showed little movement. A man in a charcoal suit, his tie a vibrant crimson, briefly looked up from his phone. Victor Crane, the project director, reclined, his expression wry. "We anticipated a design firm," he stated, his voice resonating, "not a Pinterest freelancer." A wave of laughter, frigid and precise, passed as executives subtly looked at each other. As Alina remained standing at the table, Victor Crane angled himself towards Sylvia Holt, his voice audible throughout the room. He stated, loud enough for everyone to hear, "She's got some nerve, showing up with a laptop older than my car." The executives laughed, their eyes showing their disapproval as they observed her adjusting her sketches. A man wearing a pinstripe suit threw a paper clip toward her portfolio, smiling as it landed on her drawings. "Decorate that," he said to the freelancer, which caused more laughter. Sylvia responded with a smirk, adding, "Maybe she's here to pitch a lemonade stand." Phones snapped pictures of her older laptop, accompanied by cruel whispers. She appeared to be mortifying herself. Alina's fingers hesitated, yet her face remained composed, her composure a sharp contrast to their hostility. Alina's expression remained unchanged. She presented her portfolio, displaying sketches filled with luminosity. Curved roofs, integrated with coral reefs, open-air villas touched by sea breezes. "My work speaks for itself," she stated, pushing a page towards Victor. He made no attempt to view it, his gaze focusing on her attire. "You honestly believe you can make a good impression on international investors dressed like that?" he stated. Sylvia Holt moved closer, her diamond earrings catching the light as she regarded Alina with a look of concern. "Darling, this is a global project," she explained, her voice conveying a sense of disappointment. "You can't simply appear like that." She indicated Alina's trousers, and a ripple of amusement spread around the table. "Did you even attempt to present a professional image?" A woman nearby scoffed, "She's giving garage sale vibes." As others filmed, their phones focused on Alina's flats. Sylvia continued, "We deal with titans, not hobbyists. Save us the slideshow." The room erupted, the applause laced with mockery as Alina opened her laptop, her movements calm, her silence a defense against their criticism. Another executive, A woman named Sylvia Holt with diamonds sparkling at her ears sighed dramatically. Let's not waste time, Victor. She's clearly out of her depth. A palpable change filled the room. Their disapproval now felt tangible. A junior executive, Ethan Wells, his Rolex watch prominently displayed, leaned forward with a smirk. What's with the second-hand style? Did you get that shirt from your mother? Ethan Wells rose, his Rolex catching the light as he gestured towards Alina's sketches, his expression mocking. What are these? Are these illustrations from a children's book? He announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. I've seen more impressive artwork at my child's preschool. The executives reacted with derision, one discarding a crumpled napkin towards her portfolio, exclaiming, frame that masterpiece. Ethan moved nearer, his voice laced with mockery, asking, you believed you'd make an impression? Stick to knitting, sweetheart. Mobile phones were raised, documenting her blurred sketch, their laughter echoing as a unified sound. Alina's hand remained on her laptop, her expression resolute, yet the atmosphere became oppressive under their mockery, her dignity the focus of their amusement. A ripple of amusement, phones quietly raised, documented her simple trousers and worn flats. Alina remained still, her hands gently placed on her laptop, her eyes scanning the table. None of you have examined my proposal, she stated, her voice calm, nearly soft. You're evaluating me based on my appearance, not my abilities. You will later wish you had not. Victor's laughter was abrupt, like shattering glass. Regret, dear, we don't wager on inexperienced individuals. He gestured dismissively, rejecting her sketches without looking at them. Crystalis focuses on building empires, not small ventures. You have 5 minutes to present before we proceed to serious applicants. Sylvia smiled, tapping her pen, stressing the need for brevity, as qualified architects were awaiting review. The assembled group watched intently, anticipating a misstep, their murmurs reflecting skepticism. Alina nodded calmly and opened her laptop, the screen displaying a faint flicker due to its age. She commenced, her voice even, detailing a resort that integrated nature with luxury, solar lattices powering infinity pools, rainwater systems nourishing vertical gardens. Her sketches, displayed on the screen, were stunning, each line a tribute to the earth. However, the executives showed little interest. Ethan used his phone, Sylvia examined her nails, and Victor cut her off mid-presentation. That's enough, he stated, his tone uninterested. This is a dream, not a plan. We need scope, not artisanal details. As Alina started her pitch, the executives became more assertive, their comments blending into a harsh chorus. One woman, wearing a silk blazer, questioned, is she truly using that laptop? It appeared antiquated, prompting gasps and laughter. A man carelessly discarded a sugar packet from the coffee tray, observing its descent near her drawings. Add some style, dear, he taunted as others applauded, calling, go back to the suburbs. Smartphones captured everything, their cameras unforgiving, presenting Alina as naive. She continued speaking, her voice clear, but their taunts overwhelmed her, a group enjoying what they perceived as her failure. Alina's eyes momentarily shifted, but her demeanor remained steady, a restrained intensity visible within. The rejection was immediate and harsh. Sylvia moved closer, her smile malicious. You do not meet our requirements, Alina. Perhaps consider a local community center in the future. Ethan laughed, throwing a pen in the direction of her sketches. Yes, focus on decorating lofts. Leave resorts to professionals. The pen traveled across her portfolio, blurring a sketch, and the room erupted in laughter, their voices cutting. Alina shut her laptop, her actions deliberate, and collected her documents. She remained silent, showed no reaction. Her gaze met Victor's, calm yet intense, as if she could see into his thoughts. While she organized her belongings, a junior executive named Lila Chen, her suit impeccably tailored and her confidence even more so, interjected. Frankly, it takes courage to present yourself this way, she commented, her tone laced with condescension. However, courage doesn't secure deals. Presentation is key and you're falling short. Lila Chun crossed her arms, her suit crisp and her tone direct, addressing Alina as if she were a child. Look, she said, her voice carrying and precise. It's charming that you attempted this. But this is Chrysalis, not a startup incubator. You don't belong here. She gestured at Alina's shirt, which drew amused laughter. Next time, perhaps hire a stylist or engage a professional firm. A man called out, or simply remain at home. His companions chuckled, one flicking a straw wrapper toward her table. Recycle that pitch, he called, and the room immediately filled with noise. Alina carefully collected her sketches, her actions deliberate. However, their unkindness lingered, their phones sharing her embarrassment. She indicated Alina's clothing, which prompted further laughter. A man positioned at the table's far end, with his tie slightly undone, exclaimed, "Wager she's here for the complimentary coffee." The room erupted in laughter. Their phones were now recording, capturing her old laptop and a sketch with smudges, portraying her as an object of ridicule. Alina rose, her portfolio held securely, and offered a quiet smile. "Thank you for your time," she said, her voice soft but resonant. She retrieved her phone, her fingers steady, and initiated the call. The room grew quieter, the occupants observing despite their attempts at nonchalance. "Honey," she said, her tone warm yet distinct, "they disapproved of my design. Perhaps I ought to present it to Novaland instead." She waited, paying attention to the response, then nodded. "All right, see you soon." The executives looked at one another, their expressions changing. Victor moved closer, his forehead creased. "Novaland," he stated, his voice sharp. "What's that supposed to mean?" Alina remained silent, her expression unchanged, as she placed her phone into her pocket. The boardroom doors opened, and a man entered, tall and impeccably dressed in a black suit tailored to perfection. His dark hair was neatly swept back, and his gray eyes surveyed the room with a predator's calm. This was Julian Sterling, the billionaire founder of Sterling Ventures, a $100 million fund capable of influencing markets with minimal effort. A palpable shift in the atmosphere signaled his arrival. Julian moved with purpose, traversing the room without a sound, disregarding the expressions of the executives. His gaze settled on Alina, briefly displaying warmth, and he halted near her, his hand lightly touching hers. The room fell silent, pens clattering to the floor, tablets left untouched. Victor's smirk disappeared, his complexion losing color. Sylvia's diamonds appeared lackluster, her assurance faltering. Julian's phone fell from his grasp, striking the table with a sharp sound. Julian addressed the room, his voice low and resonant, like a storm. "I've decided to invest only in companies that treat my wife with respect," he stated. "You just lost your opportunity." A heavy silence fell over the room, followed by a sudden uproar. Victor rose quickly, stammering, "Mr. Sterling, we didn't know." Sylvia interrupted, her voice sharp. "This is a misunderstanding." Ethan appeared flustered. "We were simply being honest." Julian did not acknowledge them. His gaze remained fixed on Alina, who stood calmly, her portfolio still held in her arms. She didn't need to say anything. Her mere presence was sufficient, a silent strength that revealed their harshness. Phones vibrated, screens illuminating as an email arrived in every inbox at the table. The subject line was striking. Novaland secures exclusive contract with Alina Moore. The message itself was concise and impactful. Novaland, Chrysalis Group's fiercest rival, had unexpectedly exited the Maldives bidding process, adopting Alina's design as their premier project. Her sketches, which had been ridiculed only moments earlier, now formed the core of a $2 billion agreement, fully supported by Sterling Ventures. All attention shifted to Alina, with expressions of surprise, remorse, and apprehension visible on onlookers' faces. The boardroom erupted in disarray as Julian's words took effect, Victor's complexion paling, his crimson tie seeming to tighten. Phones vibrated with pressing calls, investors withdrawing funds, stocks decreasing 10% within minutes. Sylvia's diamonds shook as she hesitated, her tablet displaying postponed meetings, her connections dissolving. Ethan's Rolex appeared excessive, his confidence diminished as his firm's worth plummeted, rumors of audits spreading. The Novaland email appeared more intensely, Alina's name now prominent, her sketches gaining popularity as brilliant. The Chrysalis Empire, founded on presumption, fractured because of her understated honesty, their reputation lost due to their own actions. She advanced, her footfall soft on the marble floor, and confronted the room. "I did not come here seeking a contract," she stated, her voice composed and direct. "I came because I expected to be afforded professional courtesy." She hesitated, allowing the statement to resonate, her hazel eyes scanning the table. "You decided to evaluate me based on my attire, not my abilities. That proved to be your error." Victor Crane stood, his crimson tie a sharp contrast as he waved Alina off, his voice carrying. "We're done here," he declared, interrupting her pitch. "You're wasting our time with this vision board nonsense." He smirked, indicating her portfolio. "Take your drawings and leave. We require successful individuals, not fantasizers." The room erupted in applause, one executive calling out, "Consider a craft fair," as another playfully tossed a coffee stirrer at her laptop, adding, "Modernize that old machine." Derisive comments circulated quickly, broadcast on internal chats, dismissing her as unsuccessful. Alina shut her portfolio, maintaining a composed expression, though their derision felt like a sharp cut with each comment. She turned, carrying her portfolio, with Julian beside her, his hands offering support on her back. The executive team reacted with a flurry of activity, their voices merging. Victor called out, "Alina, let's discuss this." Sylvia's heels tapped as she rose. "We might change our decision." Alina proceeded without hesitation, offering no farewell. The doors shut definitively behind her, the sound echoing like a conclusive judgment. The boardroom remained in a state of chaos, Crystalis's future uncertain, and Crystalis stock dropped sharply within hours. News reports declared, "Blunder costs Crystalis $2 billion, board resigns." As evening arrived, the executives confronted the consequences. Victor was removed from his position by the board, his reputation tarnished within real estate circles, his confident expression now a fading recollection. Sylvia's firm terminated her contract, clients referencing questionable decision-making. Her diamonds were pawned by the end of the month. Lila's startup pitch was rejected, investors withdrawing support following the widespread dissemination of videos showcasing her insults. Ethan's hedge fund failed. His Rolex sold to settle outstanding debts. The hashtag erased Ethan gained worldwide popularity. Their mistreatment of Alina, initially a source of amusement, ultimately led to their downfall, with each individual now associated with her success, and her vision becoming a guiding light for Novaland's ascent. Several individuals withdrew, board members submitted their resignations, and the Maldives project, formerly envisioned as their lasting achievement, ultimately became Novaland's success. Alina and Julian entered the elevator, the cityscape extending beneath them. He regarded her, his voice low. "You all right?" She returned a smile, her eyes reflecting the light, always. No further explanation was necessary. Their connection, subtle yet resolute, conveyed more than any agreement ever could. The elevator moved downwards, creating a sense of disorientation, Crystalis's descent resonating, Alina's perception growing stronger, her reality a clear and undeniable force. If this narrative evoked an emotional response, please leave a comment, and subscribe for further content. The incident left her feeling deeply embarrassed, occurring directly within the nation's premier military training area. Lacking any identifying marks, without a uniform, she appeared to be a cleaning lady who had mistakenly entered, someone remarked. Ava Collins, with her hair in a low ponytail, wearing canvas shoes and a wrinkled white shirt, stood alone, facing a barrage of mocking comments. 30 minutes elapsed before her husband's helicopter, belonging to the highest-ranking general in the military, landed. The strategic camp at St. Hawthorne's functioned as a fortress emphasizing discipline, with barbed wire fences enclosing a large area of muddy training grounds, advanced simulators, and barracks that were meticulously polished. This exclusive 4-week program, designed for the children of generals, senators, and chiefs of staff, served as an intensive training ground for battlefield survival, crisis management, and mental fortitude. Young military trainees, equipped with $2,000 tactical gear, practiced maneuvers while drones, transmitting live video, circled overhead, their personalized rifles displayed engraved family crests. The command center, A substantial structure of glass and concrete overlooked the training area, displaying live tracking data on its numerous screens. Ava Collins arrived, her worn canvas sneakers sinking into the earth, her white button-up shirt showing slight wrinkles, her simple ponytail gently moving. At 28, having grown up in a tranquil Virginia town, she came with her boyfriend, a young strategic advisor, carrying a well-worn backpack containing a notebook and a water bottle. She displayed no badge, insignia, or indication of her past. The cadets' gazes scrutinized her, their whispers building like a storm. Ava's presence disrupted the camp's rigid hierarchy, and her backpack seemed disrespectful to the elite's carefully constructed environment. A cadet, Ethan Holt, rested against a Humvee, his $3,000 Oakley sunglasses reflecting the light. He muttered, loud enough to draw attention, "Look at that backpack, probably purchased during a post-COVID clearance sale." A senator's daughter, dressed in a $1,500 Under Armour kit, laughed, lightly bumping her friends. She doesn't seem to understand the distinction between a training ground and a gun barrel. Laughter spread through the mess hall, cadets quickly hiding smiles behind gloved hands. Ava remained motionless, her gray eyes unwavering, her backpack resting on her shoulder. She had come to observe, invited by her boyfriend, but the camp's rejection felt like a sharp rebuke to her reserved nature. The audience's frustration grew, their emotions tightening at the dismissive behavior of these officials, their contempt a blow against Ava's gentle demeanor. The taunts intensified, a spiteful performance led by the camp's influential members. Vanessa Pierce, the daughter of a chief of staff, stepped forward, her tactical vest spotless, her brunette braids as precise as her expression. At 24, having grown up in DC's power corridors, she had earned a reputation for defeating those unfamiliar with the environment. She looked at Ava's sneakers and expressed disdain. "She appears to be someone who has never demonstrated a competitive nature," she stated, her voice cutting. The cadets responded with laughter, the sound bouncing off the barracks. Vanessa swung her braid, the fragrance of her cedar-scented lotion filling the air, a scent Ava found overpowering. Ava's fingers tightened on her backpack, her face remaining calm, while the audience's anger escalated, their hearts pounding due to this personal attack, Vanessa's arrogance appearing as a spark in the cold atmosphere. The scorn intensified, becoming a deliberate and organized challenge to Ava's presence. A drill instructor, Margaret Klein, moved forward, her uniform sharply pressed, her face showing years of upholding regulations. At 48, raised in Texas, she took pride in preserving order. "Miss, this camp is restricted to authorized personnel only," she stated, gesturing towards the gate, her voice resolute but not unkind. The cadets responded with cheers, their tactical boots reflecting the light as they waved her away from the grounds. A general's son, dressed in a $2,000 Arc'teryx outfit, exclaimed, "She's likely someone's temporary girlfriend, just here for the food." Laughter erupted, cadets playfully bumping into each other. A squad leader whispered, "That shirt's a disgrace, and she has the nerve to stand here?" It was clear, she didn't belong in a war zone. The criticisms felt like a guillotine, each phrase a blow against Ava's silence. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts aching for Ava, enraged by this group's continued harshness. The cadets' disdain became cruel as Ava stood on the training grounds, their taunts a planned attack intended to break her resolve. A group of elite trainees in $5,000 custom tactical kits assembled near the armory, their voices a poisonous blend. One remarked, tossing a training grenade in the direction of Ava's worn sneakers, "She's a blight on this camp's prestige." Another waved a custom rifle, shouting, back to the civilian sidelines, "Sweetheart, her backpack's a joke. Did she find it in a surplus store?" The laughter from the mess hall grew loud, staff members subtly gesturing to each other, their silver pins reflecting the light. A naval officer's son yelled, "She's an insult to every drill run here." The verbal attacks felt like a relentless pressure, each word a challenge against Ava's composed stillness. Nathaniel's helicopter was miles away, but the camp's disapproval felt overwhelming. The audience's anger escalated, their hearts racing, outraged by this planned act of unkindness, their fury burning, ready to challenge the elite's pride. Vanessa Pierce acted again, her cruelty a deliberate action to hurt Ava in front of the elite. During a pause close to the mess hall, she took a water bottle, walked casually over, and poured it into Ava's sneakers, her smile malicious. "Really?" She sneered, and her group burst into laughter. The cadets cheered, their contempt a heavy and oppressive wave, their whispers circulating, "She's nothing." Ava's gray eyes became colder than steel, but her expression remained steady, a defense against the treachery. The training ground extended past the barracks, but the camp's disdain felt like an immense pressure. The audience's anger surged, their hearts aching for Ava, furious at this public humiliation exposed before the ranks. The cadets' disapproval escalated, their words sharp and cruel. A student from a wealthy family, dressed in a $4,000 Patagonia outfit, rested against a supply crate, speaking in a harsh tone. "She's insignificant, likely trying to charm her way to a medal," he remarked, indicating Ava's worn shirt. "Look at those sneakers. Did she find them at a second-hand store?" His group of friends chuckled, their personalized knives glinting. A colonel's daughter exclaimed, "She brings shame to those who recommended her." The laughter felt overwhelming, their arrogance felt like a public condemnation. Ava straightened her ponytail, her gray eyes steady, but the camp's ridicule felt like a heavy burden. The audience's resentment intensified, their hearts racing at this ongoing betrayal, their anger ablaze poised to destroy the camp's integrity. Vanessa Pierce's disapproval became more pronounced, her words a deliberate attempt to hurt Ava before the camp's leadership. Her presence was jarring, a clear affront, she stated, her tactical vest reflecting the light as she indicated Ava's wrinkled shirt. Nathaniel Cross would be disappointed to witness this, a civilian on his property. The squad responded with laughter, their custom knives making a metallic sound as they looked towards Ava's backpack. "She's a visitor, not a tactician," Vanessa remarked, her voice carrying enough to quiet surrounding comments. The cadets expressed their disapproval with cheers, a palpable wave, their comments circulating, "She's an imposter." A quiet intensity blazed in Ava's gray eyes, yet her smile remained, a defense against the pain of betrayal. The command center was visible past the barracks, but the camp's disapproval felt like an unbearable burden. The crowd's anger surged, their feelings sympathetic to Ava, incensed at this heiress's deception revealed to all. The team's involvement intensified the hurt, their actions a new betrayal. A logistics officer, Clara Voss, in a fitted uniform, moved ahead, her voice laced with scorn. "Miss, the civilian viewing area is that way," she said, gesturing toward a distant bench, her smirk reflected by nearby cadets. "We do not allow guests of that nature on the training field," she added, eliciting laughter from the onlookers. At 32 years old, raised in Maryland, Clara took pride in her role as a gatekeeper. The crowd's approval was a powerful force, their arrogance a public display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes unwavering, but the camp's disapproval felt like an oppressive burden. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing due to this blatant disrespect, their fury directed at St. Hawthorne's reputation. The camp staff's disapproval became obvious, their actions a deliberate public humiliation intended for the cadets' entertainment. A senior coordinator, Richard Hayes, approached Ava close to the training simulator, his uniform immaculate, his voice laced with condescension. "Miss, this field is reserved for qualified trainees only," he stated, ensuring the crowd could hear. Her clothing appeared unsuitable for the program. He indicated her sneakers, his smile echoed by colleagues nearby. "We generally don't permit such casual attire at St. Hawthorne," he stated, prompting amusement from the cadets and instructors. The surrounding group's agreement felt overwhelming, their perceived superiority a pointed display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes steady, yet the camp's disapproval felt heavy. The audience's anger surged, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional betrayal, their fury directed against St. Hawthorne's integrity. The cadets' aggression intensified, their voices a sharp and bitter chorus. A diplomat's son, outfitted in a $3,000 North Face ensemble, leaned forward, his voice loud and critical. "She's a fraud, likely infiltrated to act as a war tourist," he stated, his unit concurring, their tactical watches displaying the time. Her commands are seen as a joke, merely a tactic to fit in another edition, and loudly proclaimed. She's considered a con artist. The camp has been deceived. Laughter erupted, each rumor feeling like a blow aimed at Ava's heart. Staff members shared falsehoods, their accusations spreading rapidly. She's believed to be seeking an unearned benefit. Ava touched her backpack, her expression unwavering, but the public's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their outrage a powerful force against this harmful falsehood, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deception. The cadets' harshness escalated as they spread damaging rumors, their words a sharp and bitter torrent throughout the barracks. A Pentagon intern, outfitted in a $6,000 tactical kit, moved forward, his voice prominent and direct. "She's a fake, likely paid to get into this camp," he stated, his team concurring, their cufflinks glinting. "Her appearance is a deception, a tactic to disrupt the trials." Another claim added, "She's a con artist. Nathaniel has been misled." The laughter was loud, each rumor a painful blow to Ava's heart. Instructors shared false statements, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's seeking the recognition." Ava touched her backpack, her eyes unwavering, but the crowd's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their resentment a powerful force against this harmful accusation, eager for the truth to expose the elite's falsehoods. The final evaluation approached, a jungle warfare simulation intended to challenge even the most resilient. Each team of 10 had to traverse a dense forest, construct a camp, safeguard their squad, and implement a counterattack strategy. The cadets moved quickly, their radios buzzing, their maps misinterpreted, their self-importance colliding. Disorder broke out, with arguments and lost signals, leaving a team stranded on high ground. Vanessa Pierce issued commands, her braids swinging, but her squad hesitated, their perimeter vulnerable. Ava moved forward, her sneakers silent on the mud, her wrinkled shirt a noticeable difference from the camp's tactical appearance. She seized the radio, reviewed the map, and assumed command. "Team 2, flank right at 15 degrees. Establish a perimeter," she stated, her voice calm but resolute. "Team 4, withdraw from the elevated position, transition to a staggered retreat." She addressed Vanessa. "As acting leader, relinquish command. I will assume full responsibility for the mission." The cadets paused, then complied, their actions precise under her instructions. The simulation concluded exceptionally quickly, the fastest operation ever recorded at St. Hawthorne's. There were no simulated injuries, and every squad was recovered. The forest became still, the audience's emotions moved, their frustration changing to eagerness, Ava's restrained power a glimmer in the cold. The training field reflected a scene of shocked expressions. The cadets' tactical gear appeared muted compared to Ava's simple shirt. A lead instructor, Colonel Raymond Holt, advanced, his beret shadowing his face, his eyes displaying surprise. At 55, a veteran of 3 wars, he indicated the command center screens. "That was the most precise operation I've witnessed in decades," he remarked, his voice wavering. "Who is she?" The cadets gathered within the debriefing tent, their custom knives catching the light. Where did she acquire that command style? Why was she dressed that way? Vanessa's braid appeared to droop, her self-assurance a diminishing trace. The committee chair, General Laura Tate, moved closer. "Where did you acquire this expertise?" Ava hesitated, her gray eyes unwavering. "I served as a Special Forces major," she replied. "I left after a failed mission resulted in the loss of someone dear to me." A hush fell over the camp, murmurs about her identity circulating. Ava Collins, the youngest female officer to command a tactical battalion, disappeared from official documentation following a puzzling resignation. A wave of pride and anticipation filled the onlookers as Ava's revelations altered the camp's existing power structure. A noticeable change occurred, signaled by a deep hum as a black UH-60 Blackhawk descended to the landing zone. Unexpected and without prior announcement, the cadets' faces lost color. The door slid open, and General Nathaniel Cross emerged, his 4-star uniform gleaming, accompanied by 2 aides. At 42, Raised in Colorado, he served as the Supreme Commander of Strategic Operations, a renowned figure in military circles. He proceeded directly to Ava, offering a precise salute. "Major Collins, you haven't lost your edge," he stated, his voice steady. He then took her hand, kissed her forehead, and turned to address the camp. "I am her husband," he stated, and he shared reports indicating she had been ridiculed, demeaned, and even subjected to physical mistreatment at what is presented as a prestigious training center. The barracks fell silent, camera drones suspended, instructors' expressions pale. The audience experienced a surge of emotion, their anger shifting to admiration as Nathaniel's words exposed the deception that had concealed Ava's experience. The camp remained motionless, Vanessa Pierce's tactical vest sliding from her shoulder, her braid offering no protection. Nathaniel confronted the camp director, his gray eyes unwavering. "I insist on an immediate investigation," he stated. "Everyone involved in mistreating her, including your daughter, will be suspended, lose student privileges, and be marked for a violation of military ethics. No one should advance by belittling others." The cadets' demeanor appeared to lessen, their faces drawn with surprise. Claravas remained still, her supervisory role an acknowledgement of failure. Nathaniel indicated Ava, his hand firm. She directed battalions in conflict areas. Your camp disappointed her, not the reverse. The crowd erupted in applause, their anger shifting to admiration as Ava's honesty started to redefine St. Hawthorne's history. Colonel Holt acknowledged, his beret pulled down in deference, the area holding still anticipating her reply. Ava advanced, her creased shirt a subtle symbol of authority, and clasped Nathaniel's hand. "I did not arrive to guide," she stated, her voice gentle yet distinct. "I came to observe." She hesitated, her gray eyes examining the cadets. When guidance was required, it was provided. The camp exploded with sound, instructors rising to their feet, their applause a magnificent display of admiration. Vanessa Pierce lowered her head, her vest offering no protection, and quietly apologized to Major Collins. Officials from the Pentagon came forward, presenting offers of a return to duty with unsteady hands. Ava smiled, gently squeezed Nathaniel's hand, and stated, "I'm finished with conflicts. I simply came to observe the camp." The crowd erupted in cheers, their emotions heightened as her poise dismantled the established order's pride. The consequences were swift, a judgment conveyed without words. Vanessa Pierce faced an indefinite suspension, her father's position as chief of staff rendered powerless, and escorts escorted her toward the gate. Clara Voss was moved to desk duty, effectively ending her career as a gatekeeper. Ethan Holt, the cadet who had ridiculed Ava's backpack, was disqualified from final trials, extinguishing his ambitions. The Texion who had derided her sneakers was expelled, his family's connections proving ineffective. Those who had laughed faced disciplinary action, and their responsibilities lessened. The cadets who had circulated rumors concealed their timepieces, their power voided. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her canvas sneakers planted firmly, her backpack a declaration of her honesty. The audience's hearts pounded, their outrage shifting to jubilation. Ava's when shining brightly and humbling the camp's prominent figures within St. Hawthorne's respected area. Nathaniel Cross held the training grounds with his authority, his voice cutting through the noise. "You questioned Ava Collins," he stated, his gray eyes conveying restrained anger, the essence of this camp's heritage. "Your equipment, your ranks are irrelevant against her reality." He displayed a tablet, showing a list of revoked permissions. Vanessa Pierce's training was suspended, Clara Voss lost event access, and the cadets were removed from trial eligibility, all decisions made by St. Hawthorne's board. "Your identities are removed from military records," he announced, his gaze fixed on Vanessa. "You have suffered more than just lost practice exercises. You have lost your integrity." The audience's intakes of breath were a chorus of surprise, their systems collapsing under his direction. Ava stood next to him, her creased shirt illuminated, her victory confirmed by Nathaniel's powerful outcry. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as his worldwide punishment destroyed the privileged's presumption. The downfall of the elite was a spectacle, their arrogance shattered under Nathaniel's command. Vanessa Pierce stumbled off the training field, her tactical vest a mockery, her reputation a cautionary tale among the cadets. Clara Voss's gatekeeping empire plummeted, her scorn a public wound, her escorts pushing her toward the supply exit. Ethan Holt's aspirations collapsed, his mockery exposed as lies. The Pentagon intern who'd spread rumors hid his cufflinks, his eligibility void. Those who had shown scorn were let go, their careers concluded. The diplomat's son who had laughed was ostracized, his reputation diminished. Ava remained steadfast, her sneakers a subtle symbol of triumph, her gray eyes resolute. The camp's drones recorded the elite's downfall, their empires collapsing under Ava's direction. The audience's hearts pounded, their resentment shifting to admiration, Ava's success and Nathaniel's fury, consuming the military's wealthiest within St. Hawthorne's sacred grounds. Under Nathaniel's command, the camp's established order collapsed, revealing deep-seated flaws. He addressed the camp director, his words sharp and direct. "Your training protocols are a sham," he stated, his gray eyes unwavering. "Every rule that caused my wife distress is null and void, effective immediately." With a tap of his phone, a wave of notifications flooded the staff's devices. Contracts were terminated, access was denied, and entire squads were disqualified. Texan's connections were non-existent, his influence a memory of a bygone empire. The colonel's daughter's team was removed, her career halted. The instructor who had laughed was led away, her uniform somber. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her backpack a silent declaration of her truth, her victory a shining light in the camp's fading glow. The audience's spirits rose, their anger changing into triumph. Nathaniel's fury a powerful surge that washed away St. Hawthorne's pride. The cadets' failings were confirmed as they confronted the drones, their confidence shattered by Nathaniel's orders. Sequentially, they approached the field's perimeter, their tactical gear lackluster, their voices unsteady. Ethan Holt turned towards the barracks, his Oakley sunglasses appearing insincere. "I was mistaken to ridicule Major Collins," he stated, his apology a public admission of error, his previous challenges rendered meaningless. The diplomat's offspring followed, his North Face gear worn, his reputation diminished. "I regret propagating falsehoods," he murmured, his impact gone. The colonel's daughter expressed her regret, her eligibility now non-existent. The staff who had previously mocked them stood in the rear, their uniforms removed, their careers concluded. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her shirt a subtle declaration, her backpack representing her reality. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as the apologies of the privileged resonated, their established structures collapsing under Ava's direction and Nathaniel's consistent strength. Ava's history remained unknown, not to the cadets, not to Vanessa, and not to the staff. At 20, she undertook training in muddy fields while studying tactics at night, her determination securing her a commission. By 24, she led a battalion in a classified operation, her bravery exceptional until a mission setback resulted in the loss of a friend's life, prompting her resignation. At 26, she encountered Nathaniel at a veterans event, her understated strength attracting him amidst a crowd of boastfulness. Their marriage, a private ceremony in a Virginia forest, was founded on love and shared experiences. Vanessa's lotion, the staff's uniforms, and the cadets' gear couldn't compare to the weight of the backpack Ava carried. Now she stood on the field, her ponytail a clear sign of her authenticity, her silence a powerful force that exposed their falsehoods. The camp fell still, but the cadets' eyes remained fixed on Ava. A junior instructor approached, his voice quiet with deference. "Major Collins, your orders," he said, his previous disdain now a mark of regret. The cadets withdrew, their impact diminished, their families working to repair relationships with St. Hawthorne. The Pentagon observed, their power wavering under Ava's dominance. She proceeded towards the command center, her gray eyes following Nathaniel's confident smile. The drones lessened their brightness, the spring light lessening, as a procession of the military's wealthiest sought her consideration, their gestures a quiet submission to the woman they had previously ridiculed. Ava chose not to resume her prior position, but agreed to serve as a guest instructor, delivering a single, exclusive class, achieving victory without fanfare. Her sneakers made a quiet sound on the lecture hall floor, and she carried a backpack over her shoulder, where she mentored a new generation to lead without ego. The camp implemented a new policy, requiring respect for all candidates, irrespective of their background. The field became quiet, the drones motionless, and the legacies of the elites settled like dust. Nathaniel moved closer to her, his gray eyes radiating warmth. Ready to return home? She nodded, her gray eyes following his smile. They walked away from the grounds as the spring light diminished, leaving St. Hawthorne irrevocably altered by a singular instruction. A uniform wasn't necessary for her to command attention. Someone who once led entire war zones rarely needs to raise their voice to inspire obedience. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Ava? Red wine stained her uniform. A mop was thrust into her hands, and laughter echoed as she was addressed as merely help and instructed to remain unseen. She was treated with disdain, as though her presence diminished the refined atmosphere of the elite, disregarded without recognition of her name, face, or prospects. However, what they were unaware of, what no one anticipated, was that the maid they ridiculed had quietly accumulated every secret, every deception, every scandal they attempted to conceal. Their empire crumbled unexpectedly. The estate exuded opulence. Marble floors extended seemingly without end, chandeliers shimmered with gold, and walls displayed paintings that spoke of inherited wealth. The Carlyles presided over it all, a family entrenched in politics and business, their names synonymous with influence. Vivian entered as their new housemaid, a woman in her 30s, her dark hair pulled back, her plain gray uniform unremarkable. She possessed beauty, with striking cheekbones and deep brown eyes, yet it went unnoticed. To them, she was a shadow, moving quietly through their world. Her employment began 6 months prior, and the experience was harsh from the outset. Victoria Carlyle, the lady of the house, moved about in silk robes, issuing commands as if Vivian were a machine. "Scrub the foyer again. Those tiles aren't gleaming," she would say even when they appeared spotless. Her daughter, Brooke, was even more difficult, with sharp heels and a sharper tongue. 25 years old and exhibiting a sense of entitlement. "Don't touch my bags. You'll smudge them," she would hiss, pushing past Vivian as if she were a piece of furniture. The guests were no better. Senators, CEOs, individuals with private jets, scarcely giving her a look as they requested new drinks or expressed dissatisfaction with the silverware's cleanliness. Vivian endured it all, lowering her head, speaking quietly, and keeping her hands still. This continued, day after day, in a cycle of fetching, cleaning, and bowing. Victoria once required her to remake a 5-course dinner arrangement because a napkin was slightly misaligned. Brooke yelled when Vivian inadvertently brushed against her purse. "I'm fortunate I don't dismiss you personally." The employees speculated she wouldn't remain. However, Vivian persevered, her composure unwavering, her silence a subtle strength unnoticed by many. One afternoon, Brooke abruptly took a tray of crystal glasses from Vivian's grasp. The fragile stems broke on the marble floor, seemingly intended to observe her reaction. "Oops, too heavy for you?" Brooke remarked, her heels tapping as she laughed, the shattering sound resonating throughout the foyer. Sharp fragments of glass sliced into Vivian's palms as she knelt to clean, blood mingling with the debris. But no apology emerged, only Victoria's harsh voice from the stairs. "You will pay for that clumsy fool." Vivian remained silent, her hands steady despite the pain, their harshness a whip striking across her lowered head. She polished their world while they walked over her, unnoticed unless they needed something or someone to mistreat. One evening, Victoria dumped a bucket of soapy water over Vivian's head in front of a group of elite guests relaxing in the parlor, the suds soaking her uniform and dripping onto the rug. "That's what you get for missing a spot," Victoria said, her silk robe swishing as the room erupted in laughter, a senator slapping his knee. "She's a drowned rat now." Brooke smirked, snapping a photo. "Perfect for the help scrapbook." Shivering and soaked, Vivian stood, wiping her face with a deliberate motion, ignoring their taunts as she endured them silently. Soon after, the party arrived. The Carlyle mansion shone that night, filled with the city's most prominent figures. Tuxedos, elegant gowns, and diamonds glittered like constellations. Vivian moved through the gathering, carrying a tray and pouring wine with practiced care. The atmosphere vibrated with business discussions and joyful sounds, the Carlyle family presiding over the event. As she refilled a glass, her elbow brushed against a woman, a prominent businesswoman named Diane Kessler. She was strikingly dressed, with blonde hair and a dress valued at $20,000. During the party, a plate of hors d'oeuvres was pushed into Vivian's chest by Diane. Immediately preceding the wine spill, the greasy appetizer stained her gray dress as the crowd murmured, "Carry it right or don't bother," Diane exclaimed, her blonde hair swaying as she turned to her companions. "She's a walking disaster. Look at her." Victoria advanced, her voice sharp. "Clean yourself up. You're a disgrace." Brooke laughed derisively. "She's the stain now." Vivian calmly removed crumbs, her silence a defense against their harsh amusement, feeling the room's attention focused on her. Red wine spread across the white silk, creating a noticeable mark. The atmosphere shifted, and then Diane spoke forcefully. "People like you don't belong in a place like this." Her voice resonated, silencing the surrounding noise. All eyes turned to her. An accident had occurred. Vivian stood there, tray steady, wine dripping to the floor, her face blank. Victoria approached quickly, her heels clicking sharply. "What happened? You've caused a scene in front of everyone," she exclaimed, her voice carrying throughout the room. Brooke observed with a slight smile, her arms crossed. "She's made a mess. Remove her." Diane gestured to her damaged dress. "I should take legal action against you for this." The onlookers responded with laughter, sharp intakes of breath, and whispers of "How did she get in here?" Following the wine spill, Richard threw a wad of cash at Vivian's face, the bills slapping her cheek as he shouted from across the room. "That's for the dress. Now get lost." The crowd cheered, a woman in pearls shouting, "Pay up, maid." While Brooke clapped, she declared, "She's worth less than that." Victoria sneered, urging, "Take it and crawl out. You've ruined enough." Vivian caught the money midair, her fingers steady, her brown eyes unblinking, the laughter of the onlookers feeling like a hammer pounding her down. She remained steadfast, simply tucking it into her apron and continuing to clean. Vivian did not react, only bending to address the spill. Her silence resonated more powerfully than their comments. The shame was intense. A senator laughed, remarking, "Guess they're hiring off the street now." A woman adorned with pearls whispered, "She's got no business here." Victoria seized Vivian's arm, pulling her towards the kitchen. "You're finished for tonight. Remain out of view," she hissed, pushing her through the door. Following the initial confrontation, Brooke stated, "Don't come back until you understand your place." A wave of mocking laughter trailed her, emanating from individuals who had never performed manual labor. As the party concluded, Victoria pressed a mop into Vivian's hands, her voice sharp as she directed her towards the spill. "Clean it up, you're inadequate. For once, do something correctly." "Guess," a CEO commented, "she's not even competent at that." Simultaneously, Brooke positioned the mop bucket nearer, soaking Vivian's legs. Diane gave a scornful smile. "Should have let her go a long time ago. Disgraceful." Vivian held the mop tightly, water collecting near her feet, her uniform stained with wine and grease, but she didn't react, simply beginning to clean. Their animosity, a burden she bore silently. Vivian remained in the dimness, drying her hands, her gaze unwavering, without tears or complaint. Afterward, as the party concluded and the mansion grew quiet, Vivian went to a small room located near the east wing. She secured the door, retrieved a burner phone from her apron pocket, and initiated a call. Her tone altered, becoming subdued, precise, and authoritative. "The moment is at hand. Transfer the assets by tomorrow." A map adorned the wall with a red thread connecting various entities: Carlyle Holdings, Novalink, offshore banks. She followed a path with her fingertip, her expression distant, analytical. This was no ordinary hiding place. It was a strategic command center. She wasn't merely Vivian, the insignificant one. She was something else altogether. The following morning, the Carlyles convened in the oak-paneled study. Victoria, Brooke, and Patriarch Richard were present, all in crisp suits and with smug grins. Richard puffed a cigar. "Novalink is our golden ticket," he stated. $500 million is at stake, and they're begging for us. Victoria nodded in agreement. "We'll secure the deal today. Our most significant move yet." Brooke tossed her hair. "I'll be leading that boardroom shortly." Unbeknownst to them, Vivian was in the adjacent room, listening intently near the wall. They were unaware that Novalink wasn't a far-off acquisition. It belonged to her. Operating under a legal alias, she had constructed it from nothing. A Southeast Asian empire valued at billions, 10 times the Carlyle fortune. She controlled the game they believed they were participating in. Her narrative was more complex, more troubling. 20 years prior, her father, Charles Lancaster, worked as a journalist. He was persistent, investigating the Carlyles' illicit dealings. Corruption, money laundering, and bribes were exposed. He possessed comprehensive evidence. Subsequently, an incident occurred, a car crash on a rainy night. The brakes had been tampered with. There were no witnesses. Vivian was 13 years old, observing her mother, who worked as a Carlyle maid, fall apart when she was dismissed. Sorrow consumed her mom a year later, leaving Vivian an orphan, her family broken by the Carlyles' actions. She made a vow then in that bleak orphanage to expose them, not through outbursts but through quiet determination. There was further injustice. The Carlyles enjoyed their public relations displays, taking in Mia, a 6-year-old orphan, and showcasing her at events as a symbol of their generosity. "Our angel," Victoria said to the press, all manufactured tears and staged photographs. The team was unaware that Mia was Vivian's niece, the daughter of her sister, Lily, who had also been employed by them. Lily had died unexpectedly, a fall down the mansion stairs. There was no formal inquiry. Vivian accepted the position of maid with a single purpose: to remain nearby, to protect Mia from those responsible for her mother's death. Each task, from cleaning shelves to serving drinks, brought her closer to fulfilling that commitment. Time passed, and the atmosphere grew strained. Richard finalized the Novalink documentation, his expression conveying satisfaction. Vivian continued with her customary tasks, cleaning, assisting, and observing. Then Victoria spotted her close to Mia's room, her expression wary. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "You're dismissed. Leave immediately." Victoria attempted to seize her phone, initiating a call to security. "Have her removed now." 2 guards entered the room, but rather than apprehending Vivian, they paused, their heads lowered. "We await your command, ma'am," one stated, his voice resolute. Victoria's hand halted in mid-motion, her complexion paling. Vivian had systematically substituted each guard over several months. After 6 years of meticulous preparation, her strategy was nearing completion. The following evening, the Carlyles held a press gala, with cameras flashing and reporters eagerly discussing the event, creating a setting for their anticipated triumph. Richard addressed the audience. "Our family's legacy is unparalleled. Business, charity, leadership." The crowd responded with applause and smiles. Suddenly, the screens began to flicker. A woman stepped forward. Vivian, wearing a simple gray dress and with no makeup or special introduction. She connected a drive to the projector, and the room fell silent. Documents appeared on the screen. Evidence of tax fraud, fabricated charities, and records of bribes emerged. Years of revelations about Carlyle surfaced. It was undeniable. Speaking with a steady, unwavering voice, she declared, "I was the daughter of Charles Lancaster, the man you had killed. You took my family, my home, my sister." She explained her previous silence, stating, "Because sometimes silence is the loudest scream." The displays showed Charles and Gwen's past articles. Headlines detailed Carlyle's corruption, his handwriting appearing in the margins, providing proof of his involvement in covering up their wrongdoing. A wave of gasps rippled through the audience, quickly turning into shouts as Vivian's voice resonated, identifying him as her father. Richard's hand holding his cigar trembled, the dark history of his empire exposed, every concealed payment surfacing as specters threatening to overwhelm him. Victoria's luxurious silk robe appeared diminished as she watched. The maid she'd soaked was revealed to be the daughter of one of their victims, her presence a reflection they were powerless to destroy. Brooke's image of Vivian's wet uniform briefly filled her thoughts. A shocking revelation now turned against them, the truth a sudden and impactful disclosure that left them stunned. The onlookers gasped, cameras clicking. Richard's cigar dropped, Victoria's pearls were gripped tightly, Brooke's smirk vanished. Proof accumulated, offshore accounts, forged signatures, and a hit order from 1998 with Richard's initials. Vivian spoke calmly, without triumph, simply presenting the facts. Her brown eyes met theirs, and the situation quickly descended into disarray. Journalists surged forward, yelling questions. Is this true? Who is she? The Carlyles protested. Lies.
Fabrication.
But the proof was undeniable. 6 years of Vivian's work, each file a devastating piece of evidence. Richard's expression contorted as Vivian's evidence appeared on the screens, his cigar falling as he understood that every dollar he'd pursued was insignificant compared to her vast holdings. He had spent money on a woman who could have financed his existence 100 times over, and now he had lost everything. A photograph of Lily appeared next, Vivian's sister, young and smiling, then a death certificate confirmed an accidental fall, followed by payroll records listing her as their maid, the dates corresponding with Mia's birth. The audience fell silent, then reacted strongly as Vivian indicated Mia, saying, "She's my niece. Your angel was my blood." Victoria's insincere tears from press conferences seemed bitter. Her prized child exposed as a falsehood she's previously displayed, now a burden upon her. Brooke's self-satisfied grin from presenting Mia at galas disappeared. She had mocked the aunt while cuddling the niece, and the room's cheers drowned her out. Vivian's truth, a blade, shattered their facade. Victoria's pearls snapped in her grip, her sobs choked by the revelation that the maid she demeaned possessed more than her dreams. Her dynasty crumbled under Vivian's quiet hand. Brooke's heels wobbled as she stared, her smirk a distant memory. Nova Link's billions rendered her $500 million a child's game, and the press swarmed. Her downfall played out for the world to see. Their greed had blinded them, and Vivian's justice cut deeper than any blade, their empire dust at her feet. Then came the surprising development. Nova Link is pulling out, Vivian said matter-of-factly. Oh, and I own it. Every cent. Nova Link's logo flashed prominently, a corporate powerhouse Vivian had created, its billions displayed in real time, overshadowing the Carlyles' modest fortune as the press announced. She owns it all. Richard's $500 million deal disintegrated into nothing. He had pleaded with someone he had previously ridiculed, his cigar a prop in a performance she had crafted. Victoria's shriek cut through the air. "That's impossible," she exclaimed. But the figures were undeniable. Her maid's assets resembled a vast wave eroding their inheritance. Brooke's heels clicked as she retreated, her aspirations for the boardroom a dream against Vivian's actuality, the audience's applause a tribute to her unspoken authority, their ruin a melody they were powerless to silence. Richard's jaw fell.
Victoria gasped.
Brooke's eyes widened as if struck. Vivian's substantial wealth, amounting to billions, a truly immense fortune, made their $500 million deal seem insignificant. The room felt unstable. Their empire appeared to be crumbling. Police lights flashed outside within hours, assets were frozen, and warrants were issued. The guards advanced, their uniforms sharp, their expressions impassive. Vivian's network, cultivated over years, now positioned itself around her as the screens displayed security logs revealing their identities, exposing her 6-year strategic plan. Richard shouted, "You work for me." But they remained unmoved, one quietly saying, "Not anymore, sir." The feeling of betrayal felt like a knife twisting inside him. Victoria's suggestion to dismiss Vivian seemed like a cruel jest now. She had entrusted her position to a woman who had already established a claim. Brooke's outburst, "She's nothing," faded as the crowd voiced Vivian's name, her quiet ascent to power a triumph they could not seize, their authority diminished by the servant they had attempted to suppress. Richard shouted into a phone, "Correct this. But his legal team was already arranging their departure. Victoria wept, "We are destroyed." Brooke attempted to leave unnoticed, but reporters prevented her, her heels now ineffective. The guards, Vivian's guards, maintained their positions, devoted to her, not to them. Mia ran to Vivian, embracing her leg, and Vivian crouched down, whispering, "You are safe now." The Carlyles were unaware that Mia was Lily's daughter, unaware that Vivian had outmaneuvered them all. The consequences arrived quickly. Inquiries swept through Carlyle assets, revealing tax evasion, fraud, and connections to murder. Richard was arrested. Victoria relinquished her philanthropic endeavors. Brooke's reputation as a socialite disintegrated. Their estate plunged into darkness, gates secured, a lasting symbol of avarice. Vivian didn't accept a single dollar. She presented the proof, departed without stain. She upheld her sister's pledge. Shield Mia, reveal the corruption. No acclaim, no dominion, solely justice, serene and stark. Several weeks elapsed. Vivian stood on a rural highway, Mia holding her hand. No expansive residence, no protectors, just a modest garment and a child mirroring Lily's expression. They headed towards a modest dwelling, unassuming and tranquil, hers. Vivian's victory required no fanfare. She had overcome them through perseverance, kindness, and a keen intellect surpassing their strength. As the sun descended, Mia released a joyful laugh, finally liberated. Often, those who appear reserved can dismantle even the most powerful structures. If this narrative resonated with you, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing for more content.